It's taking few seconds for recording. Good day all. Today we are lucky enough to have on our show, that is Captain Puneet Malhotra'S show, Rendezvous with an IF veteran pilot, Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale.
Yes,
Gokhale sir, Winko sir, so kind of you. We really appreciate for you to spare some time being a veteran and an ace pilot from with the IF to come at our podium, sir. Very good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Jai Hind and good morning. I am always
Jai
fine as
Hind,
I keep
sir.
saying, always and every time in bold, underlined, capital, italics.
Now, it is certainly an honor. It is certainly an honor for us to have a rendezvous with you and, try to understand loads of things from you, which we, being an Indian and being, a patriot from heart, would like to know more and more about you. And it's certainly, I'm saying from the bottom of my heart, it certainly is an honor to have you at our podium, sir. So, Venko, sir, with your permission, I will just talk about a little bit with about your introduction, then we'll have a little chat, sir.
Understood. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. So when we talk about veteran IF veteran pilot, Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale, he's a qualified flying instructor and also passed staff college and an MSc. And with respect to his kind of whole curriculum or his uh, past where he had ventured and his credentials and credibility, I will just talk about, though there is no dearth of it, but just to make it in a nutshell, I will just talk about Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale, so our audience would know, where are we coming from. Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale, who is nicknamed as Abhi the Rebel for his unwillingness to give up in any situation. Basically, what I understand and perceive is, never say die kind of attitude, which is good. And he is presently a retired Indian Air Force fighter pilot. In over 3 decades of flying more than 15 varieties of the aircrafts, he has a track record of a pilot error-free accident incident flying career. He also has been commended with a feather in his cap by IF for saving crippled aircraft. That means, what I understand, maybe the disabled or crippled aircraft to bring them to the safe haven. He was selected for India's highly reputed National Defense Academy in 1988. His main motto, which he has lived all this while, as well as appreciated by his comrades in IF, nothing can be achieved unless you try it at least once, at once. So I would just repeat this. It says a main notion or motto is like nothing can be achieved unless you try it at least once. Because of his belief that is not failure, but low aim is a crime, which is like a very proactive approach, I would say. A veteran with an experience of flying and experience for more than 15 types of aircraft, which certainly is very commendable under very challenging conditions, as well as ground attack and electronic warfare, and is also a qualified instructor. Maybe I think, Vinko sir, can I ask you as a maverick who actually defines his own things?
Okay. Firstly, thank you for having me on your show. It's indeed a privilege. And
I
yes,
just have to finish little more caption about you, sir,
yeah,
so
sure.
our audience would know. Furthermore, like besides being about his background, he's also been very enterprising. That is, he's involved in variety of activities, sports, and hobbies. A runner, a keen marathoner, and running is his passion, same which he has carried out since his service in the IA. He is a biker, a cyclist, and has undertaken day-long solo bicycle rides. He also rides a Harley Davidson, which of course is my one of my passion as well. He has also conducted soft skills training in the college and undertakes motivational talks. His recent activities include being a consultant for Hindi film Tejas on the Indian Air Force, slated for a release in October this year. Presently, he commands an A320 with an airline which is one of the most reputed airline and is also pursuing an MBA in aviation. Now, there is, when I go down the rung, there is loads of things, but as I said, just to curtail it in a short thing, but also have your complete kind of a omni-directional, vision for audiences. This is what it is. So, Vinko sir, again, I don't know how to describe like about your credentials and credibility. The player since 1988, from the time you joined Air Force, and you have, come all the way in a very long way. So I'm a bit inquisitive to ask you, like when you joined the Air Force, would you kindly share with the audience regarding your journey, sir?
Yeah, firstly, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. It's always a privilege to speak to different people. And as I keep saying, every time I talk to somebody, I get to learn more. I've always believed that learning never stops. If you're willing to learn, nobody can stop you. But if you're unwilling to learn, nobody can help you. It's a simple quote. So anytime, even if I'm talking to young students, the questions they ask me, sometimes they take me aback and I suddenly discover a facet of this universe, of this life, which I'd never thought about. So similarly, like I said, not failure, but low aim is a crime. I always believe you should try something once. Maybe you fail, maybe you succeed. If you succeed, you can be an example for others how to go about doing things. If you fail, you can still teach others or let others know this is what you did that did not allow you success. So they will not repeat your mistakes and become wiser and maybe go on to achieve what you could not. So it's as simple as that. And that's how I always live. Yes, I joined the National Defense Academy in 1988. It was an absolute childhood dream. Right from the childhood, I always wanted to wear the uniform. And I actually worked for it. In fact, if you meet my school teachers and my classmates, they will all say that this character was different. He always wanted to be a soldier right through school days. And therefore, I joined NCC, went for a military camp, and it was tough. It was not easy. I come from a pure civil background. Along the way, I saw the movie called Vijeta, and that attracted me towards the Air Force. And obviously, then Air Force became a choice, and I was lucky. I got commissioned into the fighter stream, and I
Okay.
flew the fighters for about 2 decades. And it has been one of the most enjoyable journeys in my life wear the blue uniform, initially the khaki, then the blue uniform, fly fighters for the Indian Air Force. The Air Force is a fantastic organization. It gives you an opportunity to develop yourself. From a 17-year-old child that I joined in the National Defense Academy, they made me a man. They made me a leader. They made me a person confident and capable of facing any situation, any challenge at any time of the day or night. They taught me to hold my own, whether in extreme success or extreme disadvantages or challenges. Whatever I am today, I owe it to this organization. Of course, my school played a huge part. My school was amazing. So that's what it has been. And of course, after retirement, I still live like a soldier. I get up in the morning, go for my job, go for my sports. Either you'll find me in uniform or flying, or you'll find me in games rig. So that's how the Air Force has sort of molded me. And I still am a proud soldier, a proud and extremely proud Indian. That's about, I would like to summarize. Okay. So now let's get on to whatever questions, specifics you want to ask
No,
me.
no, it is, Venko sir, it is just a chat to get to know. At this podium, we are trying to like, have one-to-one contact, and we would
Correct.
like to know more and more, which certainly would be a learning lesson for a young generation to see an ace pilot, veteran, a maverick like you, with due respect to you, sir. What all, endeavors he has been through, and what all, how did he endure through all his career, be it flying different types of the aircrafts and all that. In particular, specifically, would you like to share with the audience to motivate them, because you already are a motivational speaker as well, sir? Anything you'd like to talk about from your past during your Air Force time? Anything interestingly you would like to share? Anything you'd like to share with the audience as far as your when you try to rescue the triple aircraft, so any kind of emergency contingencies, etc., sir?
Okay, so I will tell you this. This is what I tell anybody who wants to become an aviator, right? If God wanted man to fly, he would have given you wings like the birds have. He hasn't given you wings, so he did not design you to fly. So you're definitely doing something that nature has not designed you for. So that is the challenge
Correct.
you face when you want to get airborne. So there are no shortcuts. There is no easy path. It's a life of hard work, dedication, perseverance, and continuously being at the job. Whether you are a civil,
Sir, your signal strength, I think, is again wobbling.
is it okay now?
Wink, it's okay now. Please go ahead,
Okay.
sir. We had a
Yeah.
slight
So,
break. Yes, sir.
so there is a challenge of being a military aviator. A military aircraft is not designed to be stable, a stable platform, unlike a passenger aircraft. A passenger aircraft is designed for stability, to fly straight and level. A military aircraft has to be designed to be maneuvered across its entire envelope to do everything that is possible to save yourself and kill the adversary. So that is the first challenge. One, you're fighting against Mother Nature. Secondly, you're flying an aircraft which is not designed for a stable platform, right? So the challenge is to overcome all odds. The day in the Indian Air Force you think I know how to fly is the day the aircraft will teach you you don't. So you need to be always prepared for every sortie. And we have lost so many people. It's inherently dangerous. That's what national defense requires, people to sacrifice. A lot of people ask me, no, but the MiG-21 may not be safe. Oh, it's not that simple. If you go out on the roads and take a census of the number of accidents that take place, percentage of people, vehicles,
I
just
fully
compare.
agree with you. I fully agree with you, sir. I
The
fully agree with
MiG-21
you.
has been flown by over 60 countries over a period of 6 decades. If the aircraft was not okay, why would people still fly them? Yes, given a time, I would like to fly the easy.
Sir, your signal again has a problem, sir. I think your signal
Okay,
strength.
better now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So, given a choice, I would like to fly the most advanced aircraft, the most comfortable, the one with the maximum systems. But that's not always possible. You can't buy those extremely expensive aircraft. It's the easiest. It's like asking everybody on the road should buy a Mercedes because it is the most secure and the best car available. But that is not possible, right? So there have been challenges along the way, right from the time I started flying. There have been so many incidents where I thought that maybe this is the day that I'm not going to get back. But it is the teachings of my instructors, my seniors, that has kept me going. Okay? Like, for example, this crippled aircraft that I had a power stuck at 87% out of 100%.
Okay.
So you imagine normally when we come and land, the power is to be reduced to about 55 to 60%. 87% is the one that you use to fly combat missions, right?
Okay.
So when I came back to land, I still had 87% power and we only
Okay.
have a limited runway length available. It
Yes,
was a
yes,
challenging
yes.
task. Somehow I managed to stop the aircraft. So that
This
was
is
one
MiG
challenge.
21 you're talking about, sir.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a
Okay.
MiG-21. There have been
Hmm.
incidents in a Kiran aircraft where I've got a hydraulic problem. Why? Even in an Airbus 320, I have got a hydraulic failure. So when I was flying from Mumbai to Jaipur, I had a passenger full of passengers. And after getting airborne at about 34,000 feet, I had a hydraulic failure. I had to take a decision to come back because it was full monsoons. The aircraft was had a snag. So you get challenges. You have birds. You have to share the skies with the birds. So you'll always have birds, and birds are the biggest challenges to any aviation, whether military or civil. You see the famous case of the Airbus 320, Captain Sully Sullenberger, who had to land in the Hudson. It's because of
Yes,
birds.
yes, 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 yes.
So it is not
It
as
was
if,
acted very well by that your actor. Uh,
yeah, the movie is
who
amazing.
movie is amazing. I've seen it. Of course, it's
Yeah, and in
fantastic,
fact,
fantastic.
even if you see the videos of Captain Sully now that he does motivational talks, it is amazing. He talks about aviation and then he motivates people not only about aviation, but it draws a parallel with the common world and explains to them what keeps him going. It is just amazing. So aviation has its inherent challenges, and all through my 30-year career, there have been challenges in the aircraft, snags, unserviceabilities, failures. But it is you have to believe in your own ability. You are trained, right? If you say that a pilot doesn't know his job, you are not only criticizing him, you're criticizing the entire aviation experience that he has, all his instructors, his mentors, his organizations, everybody has made him that. And whenever you talk about a pilot who's not been able to get the aircraft back successfully, remember, every pilot must have done everything, the sum total of his abilities, capabilities, training, teaching, everything to get the aircraft back. Because which pilot would like to risk his life? He's finally a human being. So that
I
is
will,
something.
I will, yes, I will, as I said, I couldn't agree more than what you have said, perhaps. From coming from our walk of life, when I joined C way back 4 odd decades ago, we didn't have all this electronic means of navigation. It
Absolutely.
was mainly an instinct or the practical knowledge of seamanship, what we call.
Yeah, use the
That is
sextant and the
how,
astronomical charts.
yes,
I
that
remember.
is how we used to maneuver. But today, in the era of having all kinds of, fancy electronic means of navigation, still there are so many calamities, so many incidents, so many accidents. Why? Because the basics are not correct.
Absolutely.
Basics like coming from your walk of life, the basics of flying, and to be an ace Air Force pilot, it has to be inculcated inside you. You should have that zeal, zest, and quest, if I'm not mistaken, because that is how I have also faced similarly in our industry. That when we did not have this to begin with, the GPS, or almost 20
Right.
odd years ago, 24 years ago, we still were taking sites. We were still taking the land fixes to fix the position of vessel. And when none of this electronic era was there, we still used to go through the, face the sea and take the vessel out of the storms, etc., etc. So it's
Absolutely.
something similar what you're trying to convey to, sir, to us, sir.
Yeah, so there is a beautiful video which people must watch. Anybody who's interested in being an aviator, it's called Child of the Magenta. Okay, now what is it? A magenta is basically a color which is on the instruments that you fly in modern aircraft, which is
Right,
automatic
sir.
information, right? That
Right,
means you
sir.
feed in information on the display, it tells you how the aircraft is going, and the aircraft will take you along that route. That is magenta color.
Right.
What does child of the
Okay.
magenta mean? The pilots have become
Right, sir.
so dependent on that system that if the magenta fails, you are lost. The basic
So
flying
no
skills of Gokhale,
emergency contingency planning, no the practical knowledge. Are you trying to say that, sir?
the basic flying skills are getting eroded because all companies are insisting that you get onto the autopilot as soon as possible, right? The child of the magenta also means that you have to feed in information, key in information. So this video is beautiful. It's about a very senior commander who's speaking about that. And then he says, anything happens, you get onto the keyboard. Something unserviceable, you get onto the keyboard. You want to go from place A to get onto the keyboard. Nobody wants to hand fly. Finally, it's going to be a hand flying skills that's going to come. Let's say all the systems, finally, whatever modern systems that you talk of, they are still a system. It's a machine. Garbage in, garbage out. You put in garbage, you will get garbage out. But you remove the system, it's your individual flying skills that's going to save you.
When we talk about the 100% redundancy, whether it's your field, my field, end of the day, the way I, conceive it, that your redundancy, it's you if you know the subject. I mean to say, you always have a backup for electronics, right? We
Absolutely.
construe it as 100% redundancy, but the way I perceive that, okay, the 100% redundancy will come back to me. So it's better I take bull by horns now instead of waiting for the last the stitch in time saves nine.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. So
So we are
you need
facing
to take,
similar problems.
yeah,
Similar
you need to,
problems.
yeah, you need to treat technology with a little bit of caution because finally it's still a machine. Like the famous case of the Boeing 737 Max aircraft, the bestest in the world, we still had two uncontrolled crashes and the aircraft was grounded for more than 2 years. Yes, we also had some issues with a particular engine of an Airbus 320 when a lot of aircraft were grounded because the engines were not reliable. Finally, it's still a machine. It's still made by a human being. It has not been presented to you by God.
What I understand, sir, like, of course, the electronic aids, they're certainly a boon, provided you use it in your, advantage. In other words, you shall be the master of the technology, not from technological point of view. That is, in case that technology fails, then what and how you can do it without technology.
I
That is
agree.
going back to basics, sir. Going back to
Exactly. So you should,
basics.
yeah, you should not let technology rule you. You should be the master of the technology that you use.
Correct, correct,
Simple.
correct. So I'm a bit inquisitive, Vinko, sir. What is, in your opinion, from your 2 decades of flying era with the Air Force and doing so many, involved in so many ops, what is, in your humble opinion, in today's era with the things are now, India is definitely going all guns blazing at the helm of our great Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. And we are now fifth largest economy, and probably we may step up to third, uh, God willing, and I also pray for it. But the evolution of the aircraft, the Air Force, from the time you joined and how, what is, in your humble opinion, how do you think that how we are, how strong we are, how good we are with respect to our adversaries, sir?
Okay, so I will put a very simple disclaimer. So if whatever I say, you need to look at it from that point of view. I am a Narendra Modi fan. I'll be very honest.
So am I.
Okay,
So am I.
and
I
not
salute
without
him.
reason.
I salute Narendra
Yeah,
Modi. Modi hai
because
to mumkin hai, sir. Modi hai to mumkin hai. We have never had a PM who's been so assertive. One single man show who's brought the country from doldrums since 2004 and until now. I certainly am fan. I certainly am fan,
yeah.
and
So
certainly from heart, it is Narendra Modi. That's what I feel.
yeah. So and the reasons for it are very simple, very simple. I grew up in Gujarat, and I have seen every single year of my life in Gujarat. There would be riots and curfew and so on and so forth. And I saw the state of Gujarat. I have been to the Kutch in the late 90s because my wife was in the Air Force. She was posted there. There were no roads. There was
Okay.
no water. Electricity was a problem. Okay. And then he became the prime minister. And when I went back in 2004 to the Kutch, it was a completely changed place. I had water in my
You
pipe.
mean
There
to say
was
you were the
electricity.
chief minister that time? You were the chief
Exactly.
minister. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And not only that, what I mean, of course, there is no politician who is perfect, like there is no human being who is perfect. He has his
None
failures. I
of us
accept
is
that.
perfect, sir. None of us is
Exactly.
perfect.
But the point is, he is a hardworking person and his single minded devotion is India first. And that is after my heart. As long as any human being can be India first, I'm sold on him. Right?
Sir,
Apart from that,
country
the
first.
biggest,
It's desh hai to hum hai.
absolutely.
It's only country first. If the country is there only, then we are there. Otherwise, we don't have any identity.
Absolutely. And more importantly, the standing India has now in the rest of the world is what impresses me the most. So far, India is always the whipping boy of the Committee of Nations. Today, you have the world sitting up and taking notice. And this has not just happened because just people have just changed their perspective. No, it's happened because the government is extremely strong. You look at the way the foreign minister talks to the rest of the world saying, sorry, I don't care what you say. I will
Oh,
do what my
yes,
nation
yes,
wants.
yes. The way he
So that is one
articulates
thing.
his speech is
Yeah, in
commendable.
fact, you'll be surprised. India is today the second largest road network in the world. Second largest road network. It has just happened because the
Great,
pace
great,
of
great.
construction is so high, right? See the so this is about about the Air Force. Yes, we have had one of the best air forces for a long time. But the thrust has gone from a purely defensive air force to an offensive air force pretty rapidly, right? The other thing which I have liked is own build, make in India, right? If you see the sudden amount of defense equipment that India started manufacturing in the last 7 8 years,
Correct, correct,
I'm not
correct.
saying it was initiated during this tenure. No, it was initiated like the LCA was initiated about 30 35 years ago, but it never saw the light of the
Vajpayee,
day
late
because
Prime Minister Vajpayee Sahab, I think
no, even
he
before that.
questioned the named it.
Yeah, even before he christened it as Tejas, but the LCA was conceptualized well before that. We had a technology demonstrator, but it never got the thrust that it has got in this prime minister's tenure. So after this Prime Minister took over, he just passed an instruction that the Air Force will buy a squadron of Tejas. HAL must produce and hand over,
Come what
and then
may.
as they fly, as they learn, they can keep speaking to HAL and coming out with modifications, right? So that has been one of the biggest things. Yes, there were missiles. We were already a missile-powered country, but the kind of development that has gone about, anti-satellite weapon, is something amazing. Taking that
ASAT we
option
had
of
launched. Yes, yes, yes.
carrying out an airstrike, that told the world that this guy is here. He doesn't care. He's willing to go the extra mile. He's willing to put his neck on the
Yes.
line in the defending the
That's why
nation.
I salute him. I salute him.
Yeah. So there are drawbacks. There are drawbacks. I accept. There are limitations. I accept. But like I said, you can't keep every human being happy, because every human being has their own aspirations. But the Indian Air Force today is a far superior Air Force. The technology is amazing. Aircraft that you have, the Su-30s, the Mirages, the LCA, they're among the Rafale. How can I forget the Rafale? Two squadrons of the
Rafale,
Rafale. They're
yes,
among the best in the
Rafale.
world. So, and now you getting the Rafale for the Indian Navy on the carrier. You have your own carrier. You have your own tanks. You have your own missile squadrons, indigenous. These are developments that are worth noting.
I
And
think
primarily, and
Tejas Mark 1 is already there, but Mark 2 with the refueling dome, that is yet
it's
to come,
supposed
if
to
I'm
be
not mistaken.
it's slated for operational clearance in December. The Indian Air Force has already placed an order for it. I know some youngsters were flying the Tejas, pretty happy with the machine, and that's how you will learn. It's only when you keep flying you will find the
Correct.
flaws,
You learn
get
from your own
corrections.
mistakes. That's how you
You will learn.
improvise.
Yeah,
You
you will never
because
get a
none
perfect
of
aircraft
us
ready
none
made.
of us is a walking encyclopedia, sir.
Nobody can make an aircraft overnight. So yes, it's very nice. I find the Indian Air Force youngsters also today extremely motivated, and I'm proud of them. I'm really proud of those guys who are serving today. And hats off to them. They are still doing the dirty job. I am retired. I don't wear the uniform anymore. And but when I speak to them, there are a lot of my pupils who are flying. When I speak to them, I feel so happy that the Indian Air Force is in really good hands. They are a motivated bunch.
Certainly,
They're doing
indeed,
their best.
indeed, indeed. So my question is like now with respect to as what you've spoken and what I understand that we are far better, superior with respect to our adversaries.
Oh, yes. Compared to, see, the only adversary in this region whom with you have a real contest is China. And of course,
Correct.
China has had is a huge head start in preparing its armed forces, primarily because unfortunately India was always a defensive country. I mean, you can recall the famous statement of the Defense Minister A.K. Antony saying we
So your signal has again disappeared.
can
Winkle,
you
your
can you
signal.
is it okay now? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So you see, recall the statement by the then Defense Minister A.K. Antony, who gave in Parliament that we do not have money to buy aircraft. Now, that's a very stupid thing to do. I'm sorry to use that word, but that's a fact. So until this Prime Minister came along, the thrust to take on the world did not exist. We were a defensive force. In fact, it's a sort of a legacy that the previous governments had. In fact, I remember this in the famous book where the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru did not want an army itself. He said the police is sufficient. So that is how the country was brought about, how the country lived, and therefore we were always a
It
defensive
was
force.
it was shameful, very shameful. In fact, I read something, two, three liner cutting a satire on a ex defense minister A.K. Antony, and the thing which said quoted cutting a satire that Pakistan ever had a best defense minister in form of A.K. Antony because neither did he buy anything for the forces nor did he do
Absolutely.
anything. And
So,
that
so
was
that's the
those
fact.
10 years what I think our forces lost with the existing assertive present government at the helm of Sri Narendra Modi, we are trying to recoup it at the same time, in my own understanding. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We are also trying to, come at the level at par with the adversaries like China.
Yeah, so that is what is important. No, so now suddenly developing an airfield north of Leh, developing airfields, roads, infrastructures. In fact, I remember reading a book where it says that the then government under Nehru was unwilling to develop roads on the borders with China because they were worried that the same roads would be used by Chinese to attack us. I said, come on, if you have to develop your roads so that your armies can go there and fight. So the development of roads is airfields is amazing. So your armed forces have developed, they become more confident, more capable with a strong government. Yes, there will always be drawback because finally you must understand the defense forces don't generate any profit. The only thing that they do is defend your country. And it is
Correct.
highlighted only in terms of a crisis. Till you have peace, you feel that this money is a waste. That money that you spend on armed forces does not get you any revenue. It's a fact. But then a nation that does not stay prepared for war at any time should never should remember what happened in 1962. We got bashed, thrashed, humiliated completely. It was just thanks to the Chinese who left just like that and went back. Otherwise, Assam, Arunachal was all in their control.
You know,
So,
yes, yes. Go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
therefore, people need to understand. Yes, there are people who say, "How much money do you spend on one flying sortie?" I said, "Well, if you want to count that in terms of money, then you're barking up the wrong tree. How much money? How much are you willing to spend to defend yourself against a terrorist attack or an enemy attack? You tell me. Why do you just have security systems in your house? It's
I
as
will
simple
tell
as
you
that.
one small thing. I had gone once to take over a new ship from the yard in China. And I don't believe in the Chinese technology. It's one of the most horrendous reverse engineering copycat thing, which I never believed. But in this particular case, I had to go to Nanjing to take a delivery of a very big vessel. And while traversing in the river, because it is, the coastal water or territorial sea, where the jurisdiction is there with the local government. So there is always a
Correct.
pilot who navigates the vessel through the sea, this thing, rivers or,
Levels.
inland waters, like how we have Hooghly River. There has to be
Correct.
Hooghly River pilot for all the vessels, including the naval vessels. So what happened that I took the delivery of this vessel. Let's say this morning, 10 o'clock, we had a ceremony and everything. And we are traversing down south towards a way out into the South China Sea, Nanjing River. And hardly about 4 or 5 hours had passed, and I had experienced my steering failure. Steering failure, of course, is a hydraulic system. You have two rams,
Yeah.
to basically control the rudder, and the prop is
Yes.
there, and you maneuver. And my steering failure. So now I had to ask the pilot, okay, he could speak English. I said, okay, now this is it. What is it? He said, Captain, you have two options. One, you let me go and I'll escort your ship through with the boat. I could barely steer, means my steerage was hardly 20% on port starboard either side, basically. But I could manage because the currents were not very strong. So I said, okay, what is the second option? He said, second option is that I'll take you and your vessel will be, let's say, under the PSC. That's what we call Port State Controls jurisdiction, or it will be detained. So I said, okay, to hell with it, yeah, I'm ready to get it detained instead of maneuvering into a no man's land. Because as
Yeah.
it is, I'm in China. This I'm talking about 16 or 18 years ago. So I know that Chinese products are very much substandard. So when we talk in my own perception as a civilian or as a merchant naval officer, I what I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, Vinko said that maybe they are our adversaries, but the kind of technology they have, I don't know. I really feel them that way not way below par, but second rated, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, equipment, yes. See, we are right. They've done most of it is reverse engineering. The only problem is what they have, nobody knows because they never tell the world. Yes, they have got a lovely array of nuclear capable missiles. That is the main risk. Otherwise, in a conventional force, they've recently started developing a lot of aircraft carriers also. If you see, they're developing a huge number of aircraft carriers, a lot of frigates, ships, huge number. So the Navy is expanding phenomenally. So is their Air Force. The only concern, yes, you will be a match for them, but because they have a head start of about good 20, 25 years ahead of you in developing those weapon systems, you will need a few years to match up with them. It's not as if 1962 will happen. No, that is not possible because you
That
also are
is
a
not
nuclear power.
possible.
Yeah.
Not
especially with this
possible.
government. That is not going to happen, right? But
1962, if I recall, was mistake of that point in time. The existing at that point in time, the existing Nehru government, which they
absolutely, I mean,
did not.
it was a humiliation and insult that is being
Humiliation, humiliation.
foisted on
Yes,
this country, which somehow rankles so badly. Yes, you can never take revenge because, like I said, China is a head start. But today you are fighting with them, you're competing with them, you are standing up to them, you're doing things at their own level. You're not receiving from them, you're not being cowed by them, you're not second to them. That is what is important. I hope, irrespective of which government comes in 2024, they sustain that. Unfortunately, the Congress-led governments don't inspire too much confidence because the leaders do
exactly. I
things,
agree
speak
with you.
things,
We are on same
carry out
page. I fully
activities
agree.
which don't inspire confidence. I mean, going to China, signing a deal with their Communist Party, or going surreptitiously to the Chinese embassy as an MP without informing. These are things which cast
That's very
aspersions on
sheepish.
their.
That's very sheepish. No one could ever expect it. That is against going against the country's interest. Whatever what had happened in past, of course, what we spoke about. Yes, of course. Vinko sir, I would like to now ask you, you being a qualified flying instructor, what all? How do you train rookie pilots and all that, sir?
Okay, so teaching flying is one of the most challenging things that I've ever done, but at the time, it's also the most satisfying because you get a pilot, you get a youngster who doesn't know how to fly, you put him through the phases of ground training, various phases of flying, and then you see him do his solo and then develop as a skilled pilot. And today, there was this momentous occasion that I had about 4 years ago. I'd gone for a diamond jubilee of on Scotland after retirement, and there was the Surya Kiran aerobatic team and the
Hmm.
Sarang helicopter display team. And they did their displays in the evening. We had a party, and these two youngsters, the commanding officers of both the squadrons, talking to them, and then took a photograph. And one of them said, "Sir, this is a historic photograph." I said, "Why?" He said, "Sir, both your pupils on either side. One of them is commanding the Surya Kiran team, the other is commanding the Sarang team." That
Okay.
has been one of the biggest moments of pride to see those young guys develop from there to go on to do aerobatics and display teams all across the world. So challenges are there. It's something. See, you have to understand, when I put a young guy into the cockpits, firstly, it's an alien atmosphere. He hasn't seen that atmosphere. Secondly, you wear your mask and helmet and it's enclosed. Suddenly you find so many instruments moving around at rapid rates, and there isn't time. There is limited fuel, limited time. So you have to ensure that he reaches the standard not only in that limited time, but that limited syllabus, because Air Force that way is unforgiving. If you're supposed to pass a particular check, if you fail, you will be given two sorties of say 45 minutes each only. Then a repeat solo check. You fail that, you'll be given two more chances. If you fail that, you go home. You don't fly anymore. That's all.
Yes, okay. No,
So
I
that is a
understand. I
challenging
understand.
thing. So that was the most the most challenging thing about any kind of flying is to teach a youngster how to land. And flying, as I always say, entire flying cannot be taught. You can show him how it is done. If he has the flying skill, he will fly. You can. It's not like teaching maths. Ki 1 + 1 = 2. There is no fixed rule like that. Maths you can teach,
Yeah.
physics you can teach, everything. History you can teach that this is what happened, learn it up, and this is what will happen. Flying you can't teach. He needs to have a basic flying ability. And that's why they have what is called as a pilot aptitude battery test, which is done.
Correct.
So if you clear the
Like we have the
PABT,
same thing like ship handling, nobody teaches you over the book. It has to be
exactly,
there. It's only when you're sitting on the hot seat, either you know it or you don't know it. No book,
exactly,
no instructor can teach you, he can guide you, but finally you
exactly.
are all by yourselves.
You can show him how it is done. He has to perceive it, appreciate it, put his perception into practice, and demonstrate that he can do it that way. And that's the
Yes,
only way that he can succeed. So it is challenging. I mean, teaching him aerobatics, it's a feeling of weightlessness, positive G, negative G, working under immense pressure. It is
yes,
it
sir.
is challenging, but it is also very satisfying. So some of the challenges that I faced were there were times when a cadet would feel that he doesn't have it in him and he needs to give up. So that was the challenging situations which I would have. I had to motivate him to convince him that no, I believe that he can do it. And an instructor's belief is everything for a trainee pilot. I mean, if you tell him, and that's the second challenge. If you tell a guy, go and do this, he will not think twice. He will go and do it even if he's unsure about it. So you need to be extremely sure of what you speak in front of him. You can, if you lie that I did this maneuver and come back and you can do it, he'll try it even if he's not capable of doing it.
I think your signal is gone again, Vinko, sir.
Uh,
Hello.
Better now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
ye
that is the
yes,
so that is the
understand, sir.
other challenge that you have. No? Remember, in aviation, you play with lives. The parents who have sent the youngsters to become pilots. I owe it not only to the youngster but to his parents and to the Air Force, which spends money. I have always said this. Look, even today when I fly as a captain, I keep saying this so many times. When I see the passengers walking down the aero bridge and walking up the ladder, I look back and there will always be a few people who will be looking at me. And I know for certain a few of them are thinking in their mind that this is the idiot who's going to take me home safely or to my work safely or my holiday safely. And I owe it to them. I owe it to them. I need
Yes.
to remember that I'm
We all
responsible
have
for
taken that
185.
oath. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
185 lives are in my hands. So I need to
Bilkul.
ensure it's, yes, it is my life too. But at the same time, the 185 people whom I am responsible for. And nobody's
Exactly.
going to help me in that. The only guy who's going to help me is my
Yes, sir.
co-pilot and my crew. That's it.
Correct. Correct.
The
Correct.
180 passengers are going to sit and hope like hell that this guy is going to get
Yes,
me
sir.
home safely.
Now,
So that is the
coming to your
challenge of it.
new, yes, sir. Coming to your new venture, being an entrepreneur as a consultant for a Hindi movie, Tejas, what you would like to know about that, sir?
Okay, so I will talk a bit about it because it will be released shortly, so I don't want to let out everything. But this was
Yes,
in
sir.
August 2020 when the director, writer and director, Mr. Sarvesh Mewara, he approached me through the social media channel. And to put it
Yes, sir.
very honestly, I was initially not interested because somehow I have never found films that are made well, showing the uniform correctly or the procedures correctly, except a few like Vijeta and Laksh, Prahar, a few rare ones. So I was not very keen. But then I
Prahar was
spoke to
good.
him.
I also liked it. Nana Partikals. Yes.
So I spoke to Sarvesh over a period of 7 days. Then he said, "Sir, you just read the script. Let's discuss about it." So I signed a non-disclosure agreement, and then I read the script, and then I had certain issues. What I found best about this director, Sarvesh Mewara, was he was so keen to learn and so keen to show the right thing. That impressed me. And then I said, okay, let me give a shot at it. And then we both started working. It was the period of the lockdown. So we'd sit for 2 hours on a Zoom call every day. We would discuss each part of the script. Then I would send him my
Yes, sir.
notes. He would make his notes. The next day he would correct it. And we went on doing. And yes, of course, one of the other reasons why I accepted was because Kangana Ranaut was the lead star. And I have a lot of respect for her,
Okay.
primarily because of
Okay.
her patriotism and unabashed, unashamed feeling of pride for India. So that's what we did.
Bilkul. Definitely.
It was
Definitely.
hard work. It was real hard work. But finally, I think now it's bearing fruit.
We are
Release
all
is
looking
scheduled.
forward to for the release of this movie, and definitely
Yeah.
we'll remember
So
you
the
when
good
we
thing
watch
is,
this movie, sir.
yeah. So this will be one of the first times that you will find actual fighter combat being shown in an Indian film on an Indian screen.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was the
Great.
main aim.
Great.
I said, let Indians also know that even Indians can produce a film on combat. You don't have to necessarily wait for a Top Gun sequel uh, to see a movie on
Exactly.
Indian screens.
No, no,
So
I'm saying
people have to
technically
discuss.
sound movies, the people are now getting well apprised with the things. Gone are the days when you could show a different kind of, a different kind of a hunky-dory. Of course, people may accept it, but now with the, so much of awareness, media and everything, and the intelligence level is also,
Yeah,
graduating by and
and
large.
information is available.
So
It's so simple to find out. No?
exactly,
If you
exactly,
find a
exactly.
person in a uniform of a wing commander, you just Google and say what all can a wing commander be authorized, and you'll make out the difference. So even a child can
Correct,
highlight the
correct,
difference.
correct. So coming to now, you're flying. You were an ex-Air Force pilot. Now you're with a commercial airline. What difference do you find? How do you gel looking at from different perspectives, sir?
Okay, so I will tell you. I will first tell you a small incident of my first conversion to a multi-engine commercial jet, and my first couple of simulator sessions, and then I will explain the difference. So I'd gone to United States to train on the Citation XLS. I used to fly for the
Okay,
government of Maharashtra, and did my ground training. Then we did our simulator session. And I think on the second or third simulator, when I was flying, the instructor simulated an engine fire, right? Now,
Okay.
being an Air Force pilot, being a fighter pilot, I'm used to knowing all the checklists by rote. So the moment that there was a fire on the takeoff roll beyond a certain speed, you just still have to get airborne because it's unsafe to stop. So I got airborne, selected lever up, flaps up, operated fire extinguisher, carried out all the actions, and suddenly the simulator froze. So I told him, "What's wrong?" He said, "Captain, there is another pilot with you. You need to take his help to
Okay.
do the actions. And you have to read from the
Okay.
checklist. You have to read and do the actions." I said, so I asked him, "Did I miss out anything?" He says, "No, you didn't miss out anything, but that is not the procedure you have to do." I said, "But I just saved the aircraft completely." He said, "I agree, but that is not what we wanted to do." So that was the first change that I had to accept. One, that there is another guy who's going to take all the actions. I am supposed to fly. And two, not much of memory. You have to read and do. So
That is a
how do I
permit to
explain?
work system, what we are also following, like
Exactly.
permit to work culture.
So the difference that I found is one, in the Indian Air Force, you had to know everything about the aircraft by rote because there is no space to put books and documents, right? And secondly, mission accomplishment is primary. It doesn't matter what happens, you have to achieve the mission. That's it. It
The
doesn't matter. You
objectives.
may have a crippled aircraft, but if you can put your bomb or your rocket, put it there. If you have to make a very critical decision of, can I ensure that the aim of the mission is achieved and then get the aircraft back, right? But you will not try to say, I am safe first. Whereas in civil flying, the mantra is safe, legal, economical. That means your safety of the aircraft comes first. Then the legality. That means, have I done as per the legal law? For example, in my recent simulator session, I did a particular course of action. So the instructor told me, "You're right. But God forbid, if somebody files a case, he will ask for the document. What is the sequence to be done? And if there's one sequence which is topsy-turvy, he can take you to court and sue you, saying that though he brought the aircraft back, he still put my life in danger." And third is
Yes.
economical. Everything is money, profits. You have to work for profits. That's not so in the armed forces. And most importantly, a multi-crew scenario. I am used to a single crew scenario. I am the boss of the aircraft. I do everything to keep the aircraft safe, achieve the mission, and come back. Here it is not so. Here it is active cooperation of the other guy. So even if there's a fire and I take a decision that I have to come back or I have to divert, I have to ask him, "This is my initial decision. Is it okay with you?" So he says, "Yes, Captain, I agree." And then we agree.
No, I
So
agree
that is
with
the
you
huge
from
difference.
the multinational crew because I've also sailed with 10 or 11 nationalities. We have a crew of 30 odd people on board the vessel, out of which I've got 11, 12 nationalities. So I also was amongst one of the first Indian captains who was tried out to deal with a multinational crew. So I understand many a times you may have some hiccups, maybe communication problems or language barriers. Sometimes you do come across and
Correct.
how to basically persevere through that. Venko sir, now final question I'd like to ask you. Like I know you have been very, very enterprising, having driving Harley Davidson, a marathoner. What else do you do, sir? Your extra co-curricular activities, sir.
Okay, so I will tell you, what do I do? I do everything that I did not get time to do in the Air Force or was not permitted to do in the Air Force.
Right, sir. I think your signal is again disappeared, Venko sir.
Is it back now?
Yes, it is back now.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
back.
So what do I do? I do everything that I could not do while I was in service or I was not permitted to because of the requirements of service, and I understand that. I have no complaints, right? So immediately after retirement, I bought a Harley Davidson quietly without telling anybody. I invested a part of
Okay.
my retirement money, and one day the bike came home. So my parents, my wife is saying, "What are you up to?" At the age of 45, you're buying a bike. I said, "Yes, I want to start riding." So I started riding a Harley Davidson. Then I have a 21 gear cycle. So I started cycling, long cycling. Then I started running marathons. Then I started singing for a music group.
Yes,
Okay.
I've seen quite a few of your videos. You sing very well, Vinku sir.
Thank you. It
I
is just,
really
I
like your
continue to
voice. You definitely have that thing in you.
No, but
Definitely.
I must tell you this. This is what I said. No, not failure, but low aim is a crime. When I first sung
Correct.
on stage at the National Defense Academy, I was a disaster. Ruined the song. I went out of tune. I went out of rhythm. But that didn't stop me. I said, I will continue to practice till I can ensure. And thankfully, I was lucky. I'm now able to sing. And I do sing. And I play a few instruments. I play the synth, the drum set, the bongo, the harmonica, then a clap box, which I've recently acquired. I used to play the saxophone for a little while. And
Okay.
then it became too expensive to buy. So I don't own one. And like I said, I do soft skills training. I'm now doing a consultancy in a movie. Yes, I'm doing my MBA. And it is fun to even guide youngsters who want to join the armed forces. Even on LinkedIn, I get a lot of people connecting with me. I do a few videos. There is one of my videos which a person had done with me called Military Mantra. And at least once every 7 days, I have somebody sending me a LinkedIn request, and I ask them, "Do we know each other?" He said, "No, sir. I saw your video on Military Mantra, and it has helped me a lot in studying and preparing for my SSB, etc." So it's good.
Great, great, great,
Uh,
great.
so I keep myself busy. So
No,
I
as
sleep
it is, you're a
almost.
motivational speaker who are basically trying to, instill that sort of thing in the youngsters to come to more towards the armed forces, which certainly
Yes,
definitely
that is
it
something I am
reflects
very keen
upon
about. And
your overwhelming patriotism, which I salute you for that, sir.
no, and that is
I think your signal has again gone, Winko, sir. Hello, yes, Winko, sir, are you there?
yeah, I'm there.
Okay, it
Better now.
again signal has yes, yes,
Okay,
yes, please.
so yes, my sense of patriotism and love for my country for a few reasons. My parents, my grandparents, grandfathers on both sides. My father's father retired as a Director General of Police. He was Director CBI, Director National Police Academy. So I saw that life in uniform in the police, and I used to go to his house and get impressed. My mother's father was a Supreme Court judge. He used to teach me Bhagavad Gita shlokas. The first shloka he taught me is Karmanne Vadikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadancana. Perform your
Correct,
duty.
correct.
You have the right to do your duty, but not the fruits of the duties that you do. So I've grown up like that. In school, my teachers, I remember my teacher, Mr. Mayur Desai, was extremely patriotic. He spoke of the nation. And somehow those qualities got imbibed in me. Yes, there are times people say you are jingoistic, you're hyper nationalistic. So what? It's my own country. I'm proud of my country. If you cannot be proud of your country, you can't be proud of anything. I abhor people who,
Exactly,
who have a
exactly,
problem
exactly.
standing for 52 seconds for the national anthem. I said you can stand in queues at Cafe Coffee Tea and Starbucks, but you can't stand for 52 seconds. I have had fights. I have raised issues in the cinema hall. If somebody is not standing up for the national anthem, I yell at him. So that's
Bilkul.
what it is, because that's what the armed forces taught me: the nation first, always
Correct,
and every
correct,
time.
correct, correct.
And unfortunately, your countries exist. The world is divided into countries. The armed forces talk, the army talks of Naam, Namak, Nishan. No, what is it? It's your country, your name of your country, the salt that the country gives you as part of your food, and the flag. And people are today dying for the flag, and you can't stand for the national anthem, or you can't respect the country. This is sad for the personal benefits. Today, it's
These
become
kind
more
of
common.
people should be forced to join the armed forces and they should be straightened up.
Yeah, it's sad because no, today just for their own personal
It's
benefits,
like spare the rod, spoil the child, Vinko sir. Spare the
I,
rod,
I
spoil the
completely
child.
I completely agree. In the sense, yes, I understand you have your own requirements, you may have your own benefits or no good things that you want from the country. But then please understand you have rights, but along with the rights, there are fundamental duties also. People forget that they have duties. They just want their rights. And sadly, it has now become so bad that just to get into a position or power, they are willing to let down the country. India was a slave not because India was not capable. India became a slave because of traitors. The Mughals came in because of traitors. The English came in because of traitors, and they ruled us. And it's not too far back. Just 75 years ago, we were slaves. We were slaves for centuries. By doing things like this, you're once again inviting trouble. I mean, somebody going abroad and asking America and United Kingdom to interfere, or a person like George Soros, no, saying that I will spend money to change the government. Why doesn't the entire country in a single voice tell him we will file a FIR against him so that and get an Interpol order issued? How can he interfere in our country? He's a foreigner. But these are
Bilkul,
things
I
that are not
agree.
acceptable. So those
I
I'm
fully
yes,
agree, sir. I fully
maybe
agree
I
with
am
you.
Maybe I'm jingoistic, maybe I go overboard, but that's what.
No, it all depends. It all depends. Different folks, different strokes. People look at it from a different viewpoint. So that is okay. I fully agree with you. Like, this is your one life, and number one, if we as Indians do not respect our nation, who will respect us?
Exactly. And that's what I say. If make India the country of your dreams. Don't ask somebody else to come and do it for you, because you are your country. You are your own country. Nobody else is going to make it what you want for you. The moment you ask somebody to do it for you, he's going to look for his benefit. He's not interested in your country or you. He's interested in what
You
he can
know,
draw out of your country. Simple.
what I used to tell my folks that when you're exiting India, flying to join the ship, it's not you, it's your blue color passport is your first identity.
Absolutely.
So you are an Indian first. You don't say I'm a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Isai.
No, no,
No, nothing. Blue passport is the main thing for which you must respect because that blue passport has given you the identity as an Indian.
absolutely. I keep saying, no, being born in this country is an event. You had no control over it. Being raised in
Yes,
this country is another event. You have no control over it. But being a proud and patriotic Indian is a matter of choice. Are you willing
correct.
to take that choice? I'm not saying it's easy. It is tough. It is difficult. I have complaints about this country. I have complaints about this government. I may support Narendra Modi, but I have things against him which I feel he should do. But in some substance, among everybody that you see in public life today, find out who does for the country first.
Sir, there's a saying in Hindi. अगर आप कुछ काम करोगे तभी आपसे गलती होगी अगर आप कुछ काम नहीं करोगे तो गलती
Exactly.
कहाँ पे होगी
The easiest way of not making a mistake is to not to take a decision.
like what A.K. Anthony did.
No decisions, no mistakes.
Absolutely, I would say absolute garbage, absolute nothing. He brought a defense forces 10 or 15 years back, because of not doing anything. So nobody
Absolutely.
could point a gun at A.K. Anthony because he didn't do anything whatsoever.
Nothing. That's it. So you don't take a decision, you won't make a mistake.
Yes,
That's the difference. So that is one thing which I want Indians to really look at themselves in the mirror, ask them, what have I done for the country? This is the country that
yes.
is giving me everything, my identity. Yes, I know everything is not perfect, but then who's going to make it perfect? Is any country, if the United States and United Kingdom are perfect, would Indians have rushed back to India during the COVID? They got thrown out of there. The number of people who died in United States were more than what they died in India, despite
Exactly.
people saying that
Our
the Medicare is the best in
our
the world.
COVID vaccine, it did miracles, for which
Exactly.
many people, as we know from the previous government, they are always into a crybaby kind of scenario. But the
Yeah.
people
So
also know, the mass also knows about them.
the number of people who died in the United States is more than what the number of people who died in India. Compare the population, compare the density of population. I mean, I
Correct,
remember
correct.
telling somebody, he's saying कि नहीं नहीं यार ये 2 गज की दूरी बहुत जरूरी है. I said आप धारा भी चले जाओ, 2 गज में आपको 100 लोग मिलेंगे. कहाँ से आप दूरी करोगे?
Correct,
There
correct.
is no space. That's the density of population. 2 गज में आपको 15 लोग मिल जाएंगे, ऊपर नीचे साइड में. कहाँ से आप दूरी करोगे? इतना तो तुम्हारा डेंसिटी है. So
Chale,
even
sir, it
despite
was
that,
so nice to
same here,
have
sir.
you on our show, Rendezvous. God bless you. And we are
Thank you,
looking
sir.
forward to watch this movie, Tejas, once it's released. When do you say, what did you say? When it's going to get released, sir?
The officially announced release date is 20th of October. Hopefully before that, there will be a short teaser and a trailer that should come out. And
Right, sir.
that's it. So firstly, yes, and thank you so much for having me on board.
Thank
I
you,
know
sir.
sometimes
Thank you so much.
I
It
just
it
go,
was an honor to host you, to
same
have you
here.
on a podium, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you. Good day,
Thank you
sir.
so much.
God bless,
Jai
sir.
Hind.
God bless.
Thank you.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.